Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Medium's Porch. I am your host, Kathleen Boldt, and I am truly happy to be here yet again to introduce you to some of the beacons of light that we find amidst our shadows as we pursue our spiritual path and seek answers to some of the most difficult questions that we have to face in our life. And that deals with the love, the loss, and the reason for being. So, as your host, I am introducing you today to another one of our Lilydale mediums. These are our registered mediums, and our registered mediums go through a testing process, and they are vetted by the Lilydale Assembly and the testing process itself. And only those mediums are the mediums you'll want to seek out when you come here in the summer program for in person. A lot of our mediums do readings online as well. But if you're coming in the summertime during season, these are the people that you want to connect with. We have 36 mediums total, and today I'm going to introduce you to Patricia. And Patricia is officially known as Dr. Reverend Patricia Bell. And she has been working since childhood with her gifts, her innate gifts. She is a clairvoyant astrologer and speaker. She has a PhD from the International College of Spiritual Science in Montreal, and Dr. Bell's studies have brought her under the tutelage of some of the world's most noted teachers in astrology, in Kabbalah, in the humanities, North American medicine, world religions, and yoga. And I have known Patricia on the grounds as being quite versatile and offering her gifts and services to many areas and committees as well. She's of course a member of the Lilydale Assembly, and she, as a participant in our community efforts, is the organizer for Children's Week. She has been pivotal in bringing in our Depang Monastery monks, and she's got a few other things tucked up her sleeves. So let's welcome Patricia. Patricia, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you, Kathleen. It's always a pleasure to be with you. I find you to be most charming, and I'm sure your listeners do as well. So, being a medium, yes, since childhood, but I have to tell you a secret.
Oh, please do.
I was a reluctant medium. I
Why?
decided I didn't want to do this. Yet, in my life, I sat in circle with 10 of my friends. We sat in a so-called development circle,
Mhm.
and we met every Thursday morning at 10:30, and we just sat and we meditated like the old time mediums used to do. And we did this for 10 years. Well, nothing really happened per se that said, hey, you're a medium. Until one day, I got an invitation to this guy's house. His name was Wang Choi. Now, Wang Choi is a wonderful Chinese man who taught numerology. And I was very excited to go to his home at a party because it was amazing because he has a very a sacred space. So I go in the party, and I'm not a real big party person, even though I'm very outgoing to many people. But I was there, and I met this fellow named Raul. I said, hello, how you doing? He also knew Wang Choi. And after a while, I decided, well, you know, okay, I'm going home. So immediately I get in my car, I'm ready to go. I rev up the engine, and boom, there's like this little old lady in spirit sitting next to me.
Okay.
And this is like the first time that this happened, like in my car. And I said, okay, what do you want? And she says, I want you to talk to Raul. Now, I was in my early 20s, all right? And I said, I don't know Raul, and I'm not going to go back in there and talk to him. So I got it. You get me his phone number, and then I will talk to him. Poof, she disappears. I feel like I'm doing the movie Ghost, right? And so I drive home, right? I
Yeah.
drive home, and I'm in my apartment, and it's 6 o'clock at night. Now, at that point, I was in Hollywood, Florida. Anybody that knows Florida knows that it's in South Florida. So this girl that I did know and study with named Maria gave me a call, and poof, the little old lady showed up again. Wow. So what I did is I said, Maria, do you have Raul's phone number? And she said, yes, I do. Well, I made a promise to Spirit that if she got me the number, I would call. So I said, Maria, I will talk to you later. What happened is we canceled the phone and I called Raul. And here I am. I'm young. I was, yeah, uh, single. And here I am talking to this fellow from South America. And I was like beside myself. So I just said, okay, hi, Raul. I had a dream about you last night. And I went to proceed to tell him about the little old lady that was tiny and wearing black and da 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 da. And he said, don't go anywhere. I said, well, I'm at home. He was in Homestead, Florida. He drove from Homestead, Florida to Hollywood, Florida in 40 minutes. Well, Raul walked into my apartment and he sat. I made him a cup of tea and I kept telling him what this little lady was saying to me without revealing that I was doing mediumship, because I didn't know how he was going to respond. And I just didn't know at that point. So he just listened and we talked. And then he got up and he was on his way out after he finished his tea. And he said, Patricia, I need to tell you something. That was my grandmother. And I had a gun to my head when the phone rang. And you stopped me from killing myself.
Oh,
And if that doesn't push you into being a medium, I don't know what will.
wow.
So that is, Spirit wants you. They're going to find you, darling. And if they think that your heart is open enough to be willing to love and help people, they will. Now, not every spirit is as strong as his grandmother, and not every story is like that one. But obviously, that was the deciding factor in how I was going to spend my life. Wow. With Spirit.
That is
I mean, I enjoyed Spirit on my own. Just, their Spirit was my playmate. Spirit, I mean, it was great. It was like when I was 3 and 5 years old, I'd go into my closet and talk to all my spirit friends. But this was different. Obviously, we all trained differently, but it was like, this is how they showed up in my life.
Yeah.
I never and won't stop my training as a medium, because I believe that Spirit will work with us throughout our entire lives as long as we're open and receptive. And I spent 25 years in Brazil meditating anywhere from 3 to 7 hours, because I truly believe that once we are able to work with the neurolinguistic programming in our brain and allow ourselves to heal whatever blockages, our own personal blockages, that we can be more receptive. Yes, I have had some phenomenal teachers. Frida Feld was one of them. And she said, don't fill your head with all these horror films and things. Spirit's going to use what Spirit's going to use. Now, Frida is in Spirit and has been, and knew Mavis Padilla and Doris Stokes, all whom which I got the pleasure of being able to embrace their gifts and study with them from England, obviously, but I also spent time in meditation and studying with other mediums like Jack Purcell, studied with Jack for 35 years, and got to be able to understand things differently. But it's an amazing calling. And I say the chosen have to choose. And I'm sure, Kathleen, you did. That the calling came like Raul's grandmother, but I had to make the choice that I was willing to do it. And then I had to put myself in a place where I would do it and how I could do it and how I understood my mediumship. But, I'm sure people have asked you, how do you feel when you go out to the stump? And I don't know whether any of you have watched that TV series Touched by an Angel with Della Reese. It was a while ago, all right? And Monica would stand there, and on the TV program, she would light up and say, I have a message here from God. So when we get up there and we're giving our messages, for me, I feel like we light up somehow, that, we know that spirit has embraced us in the most magical, metaphysical ways that we can't deny. I mean, and there are times I could be not feeling as delightful as I could be. I'm going to put it that way. And I'll get up there and give a message, and that's totally gone, because spirit has once again embraced my body, embraced my mind, embraced my soul, so that I was blessed enough to be the vehicle that could communicate with people's loved ones. So
Yeah,
that's a little bit winded, I guess.
I love it. I love it. For those people who've never been to Lilydale, when you're talking about the stump, that is a spot in Lilydale that we've built. It's a sacred spot. We've built an outdoor sanctuary around it with benches, and we present and demonstrate mediumship at that site. And the stump used to be a big old tree that is now just a replica of a tree in cement, but it certainly has a lot of power to the space, and we all need to take a turn doing that. And so, yes, when we get out there, isn't it wonderful, Patricia, how when we get out there, all of a sudden, whoo, the energy, the power of the people that are attending, the power of spirit, the power of the loved ones that are coming through, all of that makes for an extraordinary.
Well, it's a cathedral of trees.
Thank you.
When you sit there and you look up at the trees in this old growth forest, and those trees communicate with one another, but as you're opened as a medium, if you're open to the love, they will heighten the love that their spirit loved ones feel, and all of this, it's just amazing.
And
But
wouldn't you say that's our role, is to not just be the conduit for the messaging and the evidence, but to also be the healing embodiment, like allowing our body, our own energy field, our own biofield, our own aura, whichever terminology you'd like to use, to be able to sustain that power, that hold, so that the person in the room can experience and bring their loved one back to life in their own.
Absolutely. I mean, like, I don't know how you work in your mediumship,
Yes.
but one of my teachers used to refer to my mediumship as they use me like a glove. So they embody my physical body, and I do feel a lot of the things that they felt. Now, every spirit that comes through is going to be different. Sometimes they give you their names, sometimes they give you other things. But the idea to me is like with Dolores Stokes, God bless her. It was a sitting. It was a time where you sit with their spirit loved ones, and you invite them to come through, because as much as it is for the person who is with you in your office, it's as much for that spirit who wants to come through to say, oh my gosh, I want to tell you I love you one more time. I want you to know that when you're doing this or that, I'm really, really there. And I know you have 1,000 questions of what goes on the other side, but it's about us being together. But you have to have the passion for it. And in the words, it's about the spiritual stuff, and I know we've all lost loved ones, and I know how much it means when my loved ones come through. You know, that's very special for me as well.
Now, I know
I
that
mean,
if this is too sensitive a subject, please let me know. But I know you have a son that left this plane when in transitioned into the spirit world a lot younger than anyone would have expected. Did you want to talk about how you found a place for that between your personal grieving, the mothering, the mediumship, how that experience went for those, especially for those listeners that have been through that type of loss?
well, as a medium without having lost a child, you have a certain amount of knowledge, but when it happens to you personally, it's deeper and richer. The first thing I had to deal with was the sorrow in my eyes. You see, I wrote a book called Timeless Love. And at that point, I wrote every chapter has to do when you lose with somebody, your father versus your mother versus everything. But the most difficult one in my mind is losing a child. Uh, you can be frozen. And I looked myself in the mirror and I saw the sorrow in my eyes. And I really was blessed that I have spiritualism because I asked that the sorrow been lifted. But maybe what you don't realize, I had lost my husband when I was 22. So this was another great loss in my life. But I was blessed because I was a spiritualist and I knew that spirit would work with me. But there are, you can't stuff it down.
Hmm.
You can't. You have to be able. And when grief comes, let it out. If you have to cry, I mean, when my mother died, I was in Ireland and she had been gone, I don't know, 10 years. And I was in a pub and all of a sudden they started playing When Irish Eyes Are Smiling. And my mother used to play that all the time on the piano. I started weeping, you know, and it was that embrace that I knew she was there with me. That even though I was grieving, I still knew that because I had this touchstone feeling, that meant to me she was there in Ireland, probably singing along with the fellow that was in the pub with me. So it was great. It was,
Yes.
it's this is why I ask anybody that comes to Lily Dale, take the love that you receive from the spirit when you have your readings and allow that medium, no matter who it is, to assist you into owning that love and feeling them. Because I don't know, Kathleen, nobody's offered to build a room in their house for me, so that I could be in touch with spirit all the time. And it's good that we have this opportunity to love and be loved because there is a gratitude that can come that I feel. Now, out at the stump, yes, the trees enable us, but the chairperson who leads those message services are there to uplift any medium that goes up to serve, because it isn't about who's serving what or who's serving this. It's about bringing spirit through and assisting the messages so there can be healing.
Right.
Isn't that so there can be connection,
Mhm.
so they can be loved, you know?
And that is the basis and premise for a lot of what happens on the grounds during the summer for spiritualism. We bring that forward, that message. So whether you're going to the afternoon service in the auditorium and hearing an inspired speaker with mediumship after, or whether you're coming to just listen to the medium and just being on the property too, right? There are some people that just come and want to hold space with the land. So you have worked at Lilydale for some time, worked. I use the word work, but I don't mean that it was always entirely effortful, right? It's a passion for you. Tell us a little bit about all those times that you awakened the joy through the work with the children and your Children's Week, and how that all has come about and where it's headed.
Well, it came about because of my own grandson. And I
Okay.
knew that, you know, the main point of Children's Teen Week is that they can have other young people to communicate. And so many times the parents or the grandparents or the aunts or uncles say, oh, I wish I had a class like that when I was young, because it validates them working with spirit. It validates what they feel. I mean, we did past life regression class, and I had this one little girl come in, and she was so fluid on her past life. Not only she knew the name and address of where she lived before, she took her parents there, she did everything,
Wow.
but she insisted on wearing glasses that she did not need, but she did wear in the past life. I mean, amazing, amazing stuff. And this whole new generation coming in is so awake and so alive
Yeah.
that if they find their community where they could be, and it's really important.
Mhm.
It's really important. But there was a story where I had a bunch of um, children doing mediumship. And this one little medium went up to this 10-year-old girl. The little girl that was the medium was Rachel. The little girl that she talked to was Chloe. And she brought through Chloe's mother, who died in a car accident. And I mean, she described her hair, and she said she went very fast. And she says to her, I'm always with you. She says, but will you try to be nicer to your, yes. And Chloe was touched. I mean, this child's eyes was like, oh my gosh. And then we had the talent show later that night, and Chloe ran up to me and said, give me a hug. Now, that's a moment, because something connected. It was those special moments. You see, the great thing about the children's program is they don't have all these resistances. Like, I don't know if you've ever had a client that was, or a person walk into your house and you go, how are you doing today? And they would say, you tell me. It's like, no, 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 no. Don't resist. Be open. And if anybody goes for a reading with whomever, please open your heart as wide as you can, because its heart is the bridge, not the mind, the heart. And that's why spirit's coming through. I mean, my gosh, Greg Grandin has found 40,000 cells in the heart that are not connected to the mind, but are connected in a way that I believe is to the universe and to spirit. And he's a very spiritual fellow as well.
Greg Raden,
So,
yes.
yes, 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 he is. But oh, the week is amazing. We're going to have an amazing week. We're going to start off with this Victorian doll and tea party that has invited Barbie and her friends, because what's going to happen is you're going to get to have a Victorian tea. You're going to get to bring your doll. You're going to understand about the Victorian times and how important dolls played in the messages. You know, Kathleen, some of the older dolls, their clothes were made out of the clothing from deceased loved ones.
Mhm.
So it was like a form of psychometry too.
Sure.
And then we have Barbie showing up, which is, and the whole movie basically was about using your inspiration, using your imagination. But where they come together is the bridge of feminism. I mean, it really is. And so when you come, you're going to hear harp music. You're going to have wonderful treats by Sacred Ground. You're going to be able to have a message for your doll. Like in Victorian times, we used to do flower messages. Well, at this tea, your doll is going to get a message. I mean, it's so unique, so fun, and it's for adults. Okay, this is for adults. Yes, yes, yes. And it is a fundraiser for the children's program.
Okay.
Because which is why we're doing this, because we want to make sure that the children's program gets expanded. And I'm so excited about that. But can you imagine? Let's work with your doll and the dolls and bring them. And you can have photographs with the dolls. We're going to have fun. And we're also going to have not only harp music, but we're going to have other music. And it's going to be a lovely afternoon.
May I
And
ask, if I was coming with a child, would I be dressing up as the mother? Does the child dress up? Is that a necessary thing? Will we feel left out if we don't dress up?
it's up to you.
Okay.
Nobody's going to be turned away. All right.
I love
The
it.
idea is there's so much going on in Lilydale. Now, the child may have already been to the 10:30 healing service that they've done, where they're doing healing at the healing temple. And yes, they have to be dressed in black and white, and they have to have closed-toe shoes, and they have to be at least 8 years old. And then right after that is the pet blessing. So there's so much going on, it might be difficult to do changes. But this tea party is primary for adults who need to open their own inner child.
Yeah.
You see, if you think about your doll, there's a lot of communication that goes on with you as when you're young. And why did you pick that doll? And what does that doll represent? And I want you to think about Barbie. Barbie isn't just some skinny blonde. I mean, Barbie is also, a doctor, a lawyer, flight captain. I mean, the Barbie dolls, are amazing. I mean, you even have a Ginsburger doll and everything else. It's really Ruth Bader Ginsburg, please, Barbie doll.
Etc. Yes.
I mean, they're role models.
Mhm.
And
What are some
we talk about vision boards. Well, wow, what a vision.
So what other activities are part of the Children's Week? You mentioned the talent show. You have the doll party, tea party. You have the
We have a
healing.
beach party where the kids are going to learn computers and spirituality.
Great.
I mean, Russell Brown, who's playing the harp for us at the tea party, is a master coder, and he works with a major company, and he is going to be teaching them computers and spirituality.
Awesome.
And then we also have, they're going to learn mediumship. They're going to be doing astrology with Meredith Melvin. And because it's the 20th anniversary of this, we have the alumni coming back. And they are going to be fabulous. I've heard, or they've hinted, that they are going to be part of the talent show. I mean, I am so excited. And then our overall wonderful, great friend, Barry Goldstein is going to be. For 10 years, Barry came and taught healing sounds to the children of Lilydale. 10 years he devoted to us. And now, because it's the 20th, he's coming back and he's going to do sound healing. We're also going to have from Stacy and Michelle from Sacred Grounds, they have gotten a candy cotton machine for the kids. And they're going to teach them how to put wishes into the
Oh, I
candy
love it.
cotton. I mean, it's beyond fabulous. And yes, they're going to have a beach party. And yes, they're going to be out at the stump. And yes, 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 it's going to be fun. And, you know, Dr. Neal said he would put up a sweat lodge. And, you know, we're going to have this interaction from the alumni. Now, when you look at the alumni, they're as diverse as anybody. They didn't come out of the program being cookie cutter mediums. We have doctors, lawyers, engineers. Can you imagine having PAs? I mean, can you imagine having a doctor or physician's assistant that understands hands-on healing and mediumship? That can use their intuition? I mean, it's mind-blowing. And, you know, the great part about this is that they all integrated it into their life. You know, this isn't like you got to be this or you got to be that. It's you get to be you. And isn't that what spiritualism about? Personal responsibility. I am what I think, what I feel, and what I do. Of course, my favorite principle in the children's principle is number 6. Be kind, do good, and others will do the same. So that's one of my favorites. You know, outside of the fact that yes, we can communicate with spirit and have healing, but it's all golden. It's all golden. Oh, but by the way, Barry will be doing a workshop for you adults
Okay.
all day Sunday. And if you're lucky enough to catch his concert Saturday night, the 27th, you'll get that sample of, wow, this is powerful. And then trust me, you know, the energy is so amazing. And I've been very blessed because I have been able to know Barry this long, and I've had personal sessions with Barry, and he's brilliant and loving and kind, and as much of a kid as the rest of us.
So we know you're very passionate about children. We know that you like working alongside the monks. You've done these, what you said, 25 years meditating in Brazil. Tell us a little bit about your Brazil adventures.
Well, you know, I went there when I was very young, and boy, I was in Rio, I was in Carnival, but I was captivated by a fellow astrologer who is Brazilian. Her name is Susie Verdi, and she says, "Come with me to Brazil." And so I went with her, and I I didn't know what to expect, but I went to the casa, and um, they have what is called the phalange. The phalange are spirit doctors that work with you. And so I went in and I had this meditation, and I saw this doctor who I learned afterwards was Dr. Oswald Cruz. He was the one that found a cure for malaria in Brazil. And I, I, if once you've had a healing, you would go back to your room and allow the phalange to work on you. Because I had already opened and I was open as a medium, I could see the doctors and the nurses. I stayed in that room for 7 days, lying in bed, just getting up to go to the bathroom and eating my bowl of soup. And then after I came out of there, I don't know what they did for me in 7 days, but I know it changed my life. And so I came back and I said, wow, I'm going to be of service. I have seen the blind see. I I used to bring groups there. I saw a lieutenant from the police force had a shunt in her head. And while she was there, the shunt fell out and everything in her brain started to work. I was there when a doctor who had a brain injury got healed. I mean, the stories go on and on and on for the 25 years I was there. Now, never in a million years could you have said to me, oh, Patricia, you're going to sit in a chair for 7 hours straight and not go to the loo. But it happened. It was like they you're working in another altered state and it changes you. But most of all, when you're sitting there and your intention is to be of service, to help heal others, that energy comes through you and works with you and helps you develop to be who you are and open you up in ways that you may have not expected. And so it was good. But once again, when they said to me, oh, you can be a guide and bring people. It's like, no, 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 no. I'm fine. Just let me do this. But, once again, the chosen choose.
Right. So you decided at some point to say, all right, I've got all of this. It's informing me. I'm going to bring it to service of the individual in Lilydale. Your testing process. So as you became a registered medium, you were doing all this work, your registered mediumship. I don't think I've ever talked about that with anyone, about how that testing process went for them. So would that be something you'd take a moment to talk about for
Well, the difference between our testing process and those who have tested recently is amazing. We had to have a 95% accuracy, otherwise you don't pass. 95%.
high.
And you go, oh my gosh. And the testing was different. The evaluation was by a small number of people. It wasn't as though they got to see all aspects of you as the testing is now. You weren't evaluated out at the stump. You didn't have to do those services, but you better show up and you better be able to convince that small number of people who were very strict about who made it in to being a registered medium. Now, I believe, as I said earlier, just because I passed a test with 95% accuracy doesn't mean that I don't work on myself.
Right.
And you can work on yourself in many different ways. And I think being emotionally intelligent with your life, taking care of your physical body, because as a medium, I call us spiritual athletes. And now you don't see the muscles necessarily on the exterior, but you certainly use them on the interior. So having gone to school for Chinese medicine, I understand how it can work on the internal organs of the body and why, as a Oriental medicine practitioner, they use so much of their intuition. So this is an amazing thing of how we do become mediums. But I really believe that spirit plays a big part of it. And I believe that it'll, to me, I'll tell you the best medium, the one that has the best heart, the one that cares and is compassionate. I don't care if you've got blah, 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 this, but if you have the right heart and you are compassionate and you're doing this because you know spirit's that. Now, are you going to be terrific 95% of every single day? You're human. So you have to do the best you can. And there may be times when you're going to have to say to someone, I'm sorry, it's not here. And that is not a reflection necessarily on you or them. It can be that spirit just didn't want to show up. And I'm going to give you a quick little story about this. I had a woman show up and I brought her mother and father and blah, 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 blah through. And she was just so frustrated. And she goes, where is my son? And I said, I'm sorry, madam. I don't have a connection with him. She stood up and she says, you're the fifth medium today that couldn't connect with him.
In one day. Wow, she must have been really frustrated.
Yeah, but the point is, maybe her son did not want to talk to her.
Right. And that's why that one day is, this may not be the right day for you to have this conversation. Yeah.
Well, I was very blessed because, I always pray for my clients too. Afterwards, I'll go to the healing temple and just sit, or I work as a healer sometimes. And a very sad story that I know she wanted to talk to him desperately. And as I spoke to one of the other mediums who had read for her, I found out that she had found her son in a bathtub, that he had killed himself. And the suicide was so heavy on her heart. Now, maybe he just didn't want to talk about his exit. Maybe it had nothing to do with him not wanting to talk to her. Or maybe he was in a spirit hospital healing himself. We don't always think about what the spirit's going through. Right.
Yeah, maybe she wasn't ready and he had the intelligence to know that too.
Yeah.
She thought she was ready, but maybe she wasn't fully ready. Yeah.
And how do we know that by not connecting at times, that doesn't take a person to connect themselves or take a class or to work on themselves? Because I know as a mother who lost a son, you get frozen inside.
Mm.
And part of that freezing can shut down your ability to connect because, oh, if I did connect with him, could I ever let him go? I mean, there's all kinds of reasons and feelings, and it takes time. It really does. It really
So
does.
what is your address in Lilydale?
1/4 Street. I've got the big yellow house that the kids call the birthday cake house.
Have the big cardinal carved in the front. Is that right? It's a cardinal, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. So it'll be easy to find for people. Yellow and cardinal. Wonderful. And right now, do you do readings virtually as well? So if people want to get a hold of you before season?
Absolutely. In fact, I will be able to do phone readings, and that's mostly what I do. My house has no heat, Kathleen.
Oh, so you
It's
have
not
to get there.
insulated and has no heat. So anybody that lives in Buffalo or the surrounding area knows you cannot stay in that house because it gets pretty cold. But the house
When do
was
you get
built to be a single family,
When do you
so
get
it's pretty well. This year I'll be in the first week of June because I will be traveling and I'm going to Alaska and coming back and then driving from Florida to Lilydale with my LA kitty because she's got to come welcome you.
now quickly?
She loves to do the readings, I tell you, if she
I'm
could. And she will
Alaska.
be at the door to and and I've told people these are not apports. It's the cat that's slipping her toys under the door because she knows that you're there. So it can always be a fun session.
in gifts.
Yes, yes. Hi, I'm here.
So Alaska, you mentioned that. I want to make sure people know in Alaska, you're doing a cruise, you're allowing people to join you. They can find out about that on your website. What is your website address?
PatriciaBell.net.
And you're still accepting people to come, so they can check that out.
Wow. Um, we leave on basically May 16th,
Okay, so
and we will be back on the 24th of May, just in time for Memorial Day weekend. So it's a wonderful cruise. I have a fellow medium from Lilydale joining me, Greg Keene. We're going to have, I have other astrologers like Cassandra Butler. I've got Russell Brown, who is an assembly member who is doing harp messages. We have a shaman coming from Hawaii who is going to do blessings with that. We're doing a Kuan Yin blessing. Cassandra's teaching astrology, human design astrology. I mean, we have a psychotherapist coming who's teaching about grief. I mean, and we're going to do a special meditation in the area of the glacier for climate change. It's going to be fun. I mean, it's going to be beautiful.
sounds like it. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. Lots
Well,
of
I
fun.
want to thank you so much for coming today. And is there anything else that you want to add in before we close out today?
Whoever steps into Lilydale, know that you keep your heart open because you are as important as the spirit you're asking to bring through. And no matter who comes through, even if you get touched by the trees or the labyrinth or the sweat lodge or the church service, you are loved. And just remember, you are loved.
And that says it all. Thank you,
Yeah,
listeners, for joining us. And be sure
my
to
pleasure.
wave at Patricia. If you're not seeking her out individually, wave at her. She's very friendly. And I look forward to seeing the rest of our visitors and viewers in the days to come. Be well, everyone.
Great. Yes. Bye bye.